All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about a piece of network hardware that is so boring, so corporate that it's practically invisible. But what if I told you that hidden inside its basic logic is a huge secret about the nature of intelligence itself? A secret about how any thinking system, whether it's you, me, or an AI, avoids looping itself into insanity. I mean, you can totally picture it, right? Some server closet at 3 in the morning, just blinking lights and the hum of fans. It is the absolute definition of unglamorous. Honestly, it sounds more like plumbing than it does philosophy. And yet, that is exactly where our story is going to start. Because that's really the big question we're tackling here. Could this little piece of technical plumbing, this thing designed just to stop data packets from chasing their own tails, could it actually show us the fundamental weakness of any intelligent system? Well, let's find out. So first, we have to understand the enemy. And the enemy, funnily enough, isn't a lack of connection. It's what happens when a system gets way too connected. The enemy is the loop. See, over on the left, you've got your healthy, directed connections. Information flows neatly from A to B to C. It's clearer, it makes sense. But on the right, that's the loop. Information just cycles back on itself, amplifying, echoing, creating this massive storm of self-reinforcing noise, until the whole system just collapses. And make no mistake, this is not just some techie networking problem. I mean, look at where these destructive loops pop up in the real world. In our own minds, it's the echo chamber of paranoia or radicalization. In economics, it's that speculative madness of a market bubble. And for AI, it's the bizarre, self-referential nightmare we call a hallucination. It is the exact same pattern everywhere you look. And this just nails it. The single greatest threat to any thinking system isn't a lack of brain power or data. It's the inability to break free from its own runaway feedback. It literally drowns in its own thoughts. So the question becomes, how do you fight this? How do you tame all that chaos without just cutting yourself off from everything? Well, the answer is in changing the way we think, transforming a tangled mess of a graph into an elegant, disciplined tree. And here's the crucial point. The spanning tree principle isn't about deleting connections, not at all. It's about being disciplined. It knows that all the paths exist, but it makes a conscious choice. It says, okay, for this moment, for this specific question, we're only going to use this clean, loop-free set of paths to figure things out. This contrast right here shows you why it's so powerful. A graph, it can be really seductive, right? It lets anything justify anything else, creating this big web of circular logic. But a tree forces honesty. It demands that every single idea, every point can trace its history all the way back to a single clear origin, a root. It demands provenance. I just love this line. A loop feels like a big aha moment, like it all connects. But it's actually a kind of intellectual amnesia. The system has completely forgotten where the original idea came from and is just endlessly rediscovering its own echo. Okay, so what does this all have to do with the most advanced thinking systems we're building right now? Well, this is where the whole idea of spanning trees stops being a metaphor and becomes a really practical rule for what you might call intellectual hygiene in AI. See, modern AI isn't just one single model anymore. It's this complex system of tools for looking things up, other AI agents it can talk to, and its own memory. All this creates a metagraph, a huge web where the AI can easily start citing itself, which leads to this kind of inflated confidence that's based on zero new evidence. Perfect example is a technique called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. That's just a fancy way of saying the AI looks up information before it gives you an answer. Now, instead of just dumping a big, messy pile of facts into its brain, a spanning tree approach organizes it. Your question is the root. Each piece of info it finds is a node, and it builds a tree that gives you the most new, relevant information without just repeating itself. It's about getting maximum coverage, not just maximum noise. And this leads to a really simple but brilliant rule for when you have multiple AIs working together. One AI agent can't just generate an idea, have another agent repeat it back, and then pretend that echo is some kind of external proof. The system enforces a simple rule. No, you don't get to launder your own claims through a friend. What you end up creating is this amazing concept called claim ancestry. And really, it's a form of enforced humility. It means every single claim an AI makes has to be able to point back to where it came from, proving it started with fresh evidence and not just an echo of its own voice. But here's the thing that is just so fascinating. This principle, it's not new. We didn't invent it in some server room. Nature figured this out billions of years ago. Just look anywhere in biology and you'll see it. The branching of neurons in your brain, the vascular system that carries your blood, the bronchial tubes inside your lungs. Life is literally built on tree structures. It understands that to build something complex and stable, you can't have chaotic loops. Life doesn't get rid of chaos. It finds these elegant, hierarchical ways to route it. And this forces us to rethink what simple even means. We tend to think of these clean, branching structures as being primitive, but they're not. They are a sign of maturity. They're a sign of a system that has learned the discipline it needs to grow without collapsing in on itself. Which brings us to our final takeaway, where we lift this whole idea from technology and biology into the realm of wisdom itself. I mean, think about it. There's a kind of immaturity in wanting everything to connect to everything else all at once. Real growth, real maturity is about making choices. It's about understanding that structure is actually what gives you freedom, not what takes it away. And maybe that's the simplest way to put it all. Intelligence isn't just about adding more and more connections. Maybe the most vital part of wisdom is actually subtraction. It's about knowing which connections to silence so that the ones that matter can finally be true and clear. So we end up right back where we started, back in that server closet with the beige Ethernet cables. It turns out that one of the most profound lessons about thinking and wisdom and survival has been quietly blinking away in unglamorous places all along. And really, that's the ultimate goal for any intelligent system, isn't it? To be rooted in a clear purpose, to branch out into a rich, complex world of meaning, and most importantly, to have the discipline to create a structure for itself so it doesn't become a victim of its own cleverness.